be moderating questions throughout and moderating the chat during the Q&A portion. A couple notes for all of you: if you could keep yourselves muted during the event, and then certainly during the Q&A portion, if you'd like to ask questions and unmute yourself at that point, that's perfectly appropriate. Feel free to, at any point during the event, type your questions into the chat. We do have 30 minutes for Q&A at the end, so hopefully we'll have time to get to everyone's question. And then just one final reminder for those of you that just joined us, we are doing a bit of a different way of taking attendance at this event. So there is an attendance survey in the chat. Just make sure you complete that when you have a moment. And I also want to give a brief thank you to Jad and Lisa from the ITO, Information Technology Student Organization, who were the ones who initially kind of brought this idea to the Career Planning and Placement Office. And this is actually the first event in a 3-part ISM specific event series that we'll be having this fall. So I encourage all of you to check Handshake and watch for your Wayne State emails, because we will host a couple other ISM events in October and November of this semester. And with that, I would like to turn it over to our presenters today to just briefly introduce themselves. We'll go in order of the agenda. So Taylor, if you'd like to start by giving a brief introduction.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here because I graduated from Wayne State in spring 2017. So I'm about 3 years out now. And I was just telling the presenters before, it's so weird. You know, I was a student not too long ago, and now I'm here as the experienced professional. So yeah, I am a cybersecurity senior consultant at Plant Moran. Plant Moran is an accounting firm. So if you're an accounting student, or if you have any friends in the accounting world, they're probably familiar with our firm. I work on the cybersecurity team, which falls under the management consulting umbrella. So yeah, no accounting for me, please. Primarily, I work with financial institutions, working on their cybersecurity compliance, as well as publicly traded companies working on their SOX IT compliance. I've been with the firm since I graduated Wayne State in 2017. I also had an internship here the year before that, the summer of my junior year. And then while I was at Wayne State, I was involved in the Business Student Senate. I was on the planning committee for the new building that you guys are all enjoying now. You're welcome. And yeah, it was a great time, and I loved getting involved, and I love helping students now. So I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome, great, thank you, Taylor. And I will turn it over to Corey to introduce yourself, and then we'll go to Mark.
Hi, everybody, can you hear me?
Yep.
So my name is Corey Hardcastle. I am a senior manager of analytics, data science, and data services for FCA North America. So to kind of break that down, our data science teams, data engineering, all of our application architecture platforms, as well as all the databases in North America roll up through my group. How I got involved with Wayne State, when I came to FCA 6 years ago, I joined the Wayne State recruiting team and tried to be very active on campus from that point forward. So, you know, I've worked with a lot of interns and now employees through the different programs. I've done several conversations in classrooms down at Wayne State. So I'm excited to take part in the conversation today, and thanks for having me.
Awesome, thank you. Mark Barrett.
Yeah, my name is Mark Parent. I'm president of Inbound 281. We're a marketing, sales, and services growth agency. We help companies grow. I also run the HubSpot Users Group Detroit, which is a community group of HubSpot users and aficionados, of folks that like to work HubSpot. And we meet monthly now. With COVID now, we meet monthly online, and we do events. And we help users of the HubSpot product be more efficient, and we basically built a community for them. So we're a HubSpot solutions partner, which means we specialize in HubSpot. That's where we hang our hat. And I ended up here, I think, because I'm a friend of John Hendricks, who's also associate professor of ISM, and we partnered on a Hug event. And we met many times at the Hug events. So I'm happy to be here, and hopefully we can add some value to the program today.
All right, awesome, thank you. And John, I will go ahead and have you introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm John Heinrichs. I'm an associate professor in the Information Systems Management group. I teach courses in the web development and in inbound technology. As Mark had said, he works with HubSpot, and what we're very fortunate is we received a $75,000 grant from HubSpot to get all of the enterprise features that they offer. And our student organization is using that to help them gain internships and to help work with companies like Mark's. So we're very excited to be here today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. And then Jay, if you want to give a quick introduction.
I'm really happy to be here, everyone. My name is Jay Jessen. I actually am super excited to see a lot of familiar names in the chat, a lot of ISM students I've worked with in the past. So I'm just here to give a little bit at the end about ISM, and I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. So before we get started with the more formal presentation portion, again, feel free to put your questions in the chat throughout the event. In preparation for this event, ITO organization members put together a list of questions, and we asked the presenters to select questions that they'd like to speak on today to share their insight and their expertise. So we will kind of moderate those over the course of the event. Again, there's the Q&A portion at the end for any additional questions that aren't answered during that portion. So to get started, we will have Taylor Smith go first. And Taylor, if you can start by providing a little bit of insight on what ISM looks like at Plant Moran and what your day-to-day job entails.
Yeah, so first I'll probably start with how I ended up working for Plant Moran. So while I was a student at Wayne State, I had several internships throughout my career there, and one of my internships was more of like the business analyst type role, which is a pretty common role that an ISM major would take just starting out in their career. And it was a lot of sitting behind a computer, updating databases, playing around with things like that. And it was not very social. I was telling everyone earlier, I'm a very social person, which is why quarantine hasn't been the easiest for me. So at that point, I was like having kind of a career crisis. I was like, I don't know if ISM is for me. I'm too like people focused for this. I can't just sit at a desk all day. So I actually joined the corporate mentor program, and that's how I was involved. I became involved with someone who's now my direct manager at Plant Moran, and he introduced me to the world of IT consulting. So this way, I am constantly interacting with clients, assisting them with their needs, while also utilizing my degree and the information that I learned in school surrounding IT and networking and things of that nature. And it's a perfect fit for me because that kind of solved my career crisis that I was dealing with. So my job specifically, the way that people like to describe consulting is that we go to our clients and we have them tell us what they're doing or what issues they're identifying within their company. We repeat it back to them, and then we give them ways to improve. So the example I always provide as far as cybersecurity is concerned is something everyone's familiar with, which is password settings. So we go to our clients and we ask them to show us what their network password settings currently are. So they send us evidence showing us, maybe it's a minimum length of 8 characters, complexity requirements, etc. And then so we review that, and then we provide them recommendations on how to mitigate the risks surrounding password control. So for us, we like to see a minimum of 10 to 12 characters because our password cracking rig that we have can typically crack an 8-character password within 24 hours. So in order to increase security there, we recommend that they increase their length. So my job title is cybersecurity consultant. It's a really sexy way of saying I'm an IT compliance auditor. So overall, what I love about it is that I get to learn a little bit about a lot of topics. So, I'm not a database expert. I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but I do know a little bit about all of these areas. And as I transition in my career, you know, whether I choose to stay the path of a consultant or I decide to switch to industry, I'm then able to kind of figure out what I like the most and decide where I want to specialize. Again, the industries I typically serve are financial institutions because they're highly regulated by government agencies, and as well as publicly traded companies. So I know everyone's aware of Sarbanes-Oxley. So there's an IT component of that, verifying that IT controls over the financial reporting process are operating effectively. So I'll go to those companies and do testing there as well. The other fun thing about Plant Moran specifically, with an ISM degree, we have several other areas under our IT consulting umbrella. So again, I work on the cybersecurity team specifically on the IT audit and compliance side. Within our cybersecurity team, we also have a network security team, which they're the ones that do like ethical hacking, internal penetration tests, social engineering assessments. That's a lot more sexy than IT auditing, let me tell you. But that's a little bit more technical. So if that's what you're passionate about, that's what you can go into. We also do ERP systems consulting. So we help organizations identify what the next ERP system should be. And we do like networking consulting. So evaluating what networking equipment or how their network is functioning at other clients. So there's plenty of umbrellas under this IT consulting area. And then we also have our internal IT team. So the people that are actually doing the day-to-day IT work at Plant Moran. So a lot of great things. Also, as far as like data science, I know that's what Corey's speaking on. We also have data analytics consulting. There is so much at Plant Moran. And we always like to say, like, if you join the firm and you don't really find something that fits you, we prioritize keeping you with us and finding a place where you fit. So I know plenty of people that have transitioned from consulting to our internal IT team, or even from financial audit coming to our cybersecurity IT audit team, or vice versa. So that's great.
Awesome, thank you. What certifications would you recommend for someone who is planning to pursue a career in information systems?
Yeah, so certifications are very important. We always say that is like the biggest continuing education piece for people in our industry specifically. Within cybersecurity and, you know, at Plant Moran, we have a variety of certifications within our team. The most common being the CISA, which is Certified Information Security Auditor, which is a certification from ISACA. And I know I Googled it, so I had it pulled up. ISACA is the Information Systems Audit and Control Association. They also have several other certifications within there, the Certified Information Security Manager, something about risk consulting or risk management certification. So any ISACA certification is really beneficial on our team. I know our network security team gets their Certified Ethical Hacker certification. That's a lot more technical, and it's a pretty in-depth certification. As well as the CISSP is another one that's pretty common on our team. So that is the Certified Information Systems Security Professional. That one is a little bit more technical than the CISA. So typically our path within our team is you get the CISA at 3 to 5 years. So that's about where I'm at. And then once you hit that, you know, 5, 6, 7 year mark, you're getting your CISSP. And that certification as well is industry wide. So, you know, if you choose to go into cybersecurity in any way, shape, or form, that's a really good certification to get.
And kind of as a follow-up question to that, do you find, at least in your experience with Plant Moran, is the company paying for you to obtain these certifications? Would you recommend that students do it independently?
Yeah, so as you can do it both ways. If you obtain a certification that isn't like sponsored by the team up front, you can get reimbursed for it. I know a few years ago, we're kind of in a weird transition phase where we're implementing, like we're starting the new certification classes. But when I first started, all the people that were in line for their CISSP, the team created a couple days worth of training. So during the workday, people were at training, and then they got sponsored to take the test. They got reimbursed to take the test, I think, once. So if you didn't take it, pass it the first time, you had to pay for it yourself the following times. But yeah, they pay for, and you get to charge your time when you're studying as well. So if you're studying for a certification exam, you're able to bill your time, so you're technically getting paid for it.
Okay, awesome, good to know. And then lastly, so from your perspective, what does the current job market look like for ISM students or ISM graduates?
Yeah, so the reason why I ultimately chose ISM as my major when I was a baby freshman was because it was on a list of like top 10 money-making majors. And I would say that that still holds true. You know, I know COVID has put a lot of wrenches in a lot of industries, so I can't really speak to the present day, but I know that cybersecurity specifically, there's too many jobs and not enough bodies, quite frankly. I work with a lot of clients that are in small towns all over, you know, in the tri-state area, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and they're desperate for IT professionals. So if you can get any sort of experience while you're in school, be it an internship or working toward a certification, I think you're going to be all set in terms of getting a job once you graduate.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Taylor. So shifting focus a little bit, Corey Hardcastle from FCA, can you start by explaining a little bit about what ISM looks like at FCA and what specifically your job entails?
Sure. So, you know, FCA is a very large, broad company. Each one of our business units has a supporting IT ISM function underneath, right? So, HR, it sounds trivial, but there's 500 systems to go into making sure that our 200,000 employees have access to the building, have their payroll. Similarly, you move into sales and marketing, you go through all of our business units, they heavily rely on systems, on applications, on programs for us to be able to function as a company. In my role specifically, I'm responsible for analytics, data science, and data services, and it's very broad, and I think that was one of the things that drew me to it. Before I came into industry, I worked as a consultant for several years, and I got to see a lot of different industries, a lot of different tools, a lot of different organizations, a lot of different styles, and it really helped me kind of hone in on the type of area that I wanted to focus on, and I gravitated towards analytics and data science, because at a company like FCA, I had visibility to lots of our problems across multiple organizations, and that really appealed to me. I think I spent a lot of time, and I think my role has really morphed into trying to help coach our executives through what the buzzwords are. I think in analytics and in a lot of the topics that come along with technology, there's a lot of buzz. Things with social media and with the media tools and technology have kind of taken on a life than they maybe used to have. And we do a lot of coaching and skilling to try to make sure that when we're talking through you know, machine learning topics that are going to help our executives make decisions, that they're informed and they truly understand how we're approaching some of these problems. I think from a skills perspective, the roles at FCA, we're drastically changing. We have new leadership, and we're really driving towards being more digital and being more customer focused. And I think what we see, and I think you'll find this with a lot of companies in this area, is that our backbone, a lot of our applications are aged, right? We're manufacturing companies at our core, and we're trying to reinvent ourselves with a software flair. And I think it just creates a significant amount of opportunity for people who have the right skill set to come into companies and make a very big impact immediately.
Okay, great, thank you. And then similar to the question I asked Taylor, from your perspective, what does the job market look like for ISM students?
I think 6 months ago, I would have answered this question entirely different, but I think the world's changed. When I look at like data science skill set, you know, we used to say, oh my goodness, it's so hard to attract the type of people that we're looking for to Southeastern Michigan. And I think now everything being virtual, even conversations like this, your ability to market yourself broadly across the job market has changed in ways that it never was, before COVID. I think a lot of the areas that we focus into, it's great to have that general and broad skill set, but at some point you specialize, or you go through and you get certifications, or you get a little bit deeper training. But I think the skill set that you come in with ISM makes you very marketable to begin with.
Okay, great, thank you. And then lastly, what industry-specific tools should students be prepared to use after graduation? Some of the specific ones that were brought up were programming skills, playbook skills. So I guess kind of your insight on that perspective on what types of industry-specific tools students should be learning.
Yeah, so I think this is a hard question to answer, and one of the reasons I picked it is, the pace of change in technology is unlike anything we've ever seen, right? You look at cloud technologies, you look at open source packages. Every day somebody is innovating around, how to make us be more efficient, or create a new tool that helps solve a problem that's a gap, somewhere else. I think having a really strong base, like I tell our data scientists in the interviews when we're bringing new people in, there's every package in the world, but I think if you have a really strong base in the core components, if you're good at SQL, if you understand how to navigate a database, if you put in the base work around statistics and you understand how to deploy models at a high level, you can learn a new tool. You've got the core components to be able to take those skills and extend them. So I think, having some level of base programming skills and being really self-motivated, and when you get into a company try to really understand their landscape and where they're going strategically, and it's going to be, some level of investment from everybody on this call as you come into industry, to refine your skill set and make yourself very marketable to the groups that you're trying to appeal to.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was very helpful information. And now we will shift focus again. And Mark, if you could give a little bit of overview as to what ISM looks like at your company and what your specific job entails.
Yes, first I want to say, Taylor, I added 2 more digits to my passwords, okay? Thank you for that tip.
Good.
Okay. Hey, some very interesting topics on cybersecurity and the different areas these people are in. So I'm in a different bucket. My job is unique in that I need to advise clients, 50 to 250 employees. That's kind of our sweet spot, on best strategies and tactics to support their business growth, right? So that really kind of means that I have to understand what's possible with regards to technology in order to support the strategies and tactics that we deploy. So for us, we have to have a really good understanding of where clients are at currently, and doing that proper assessment, and then figuring out where they need to go. Okay, so that's and in basically that relate to the marketing, sales, and the service or customer satisfaction bucket, so to speak. So when you ask the question, what are the technologies likely to enable business activities and new business for our area of work? Today, I kind of think where the market is, it's kind of like a flywheel, and I'm gonna, for those of you who are interested in marketing, sales, and customer satisfaction, I'll just, in the chat pane, I just put in a link for you to take a look at. But HubSpot has kind of introduced for their products and services what they call a funnel. And really, essentially what it is, it's a 360-degree, a way to look at a customer and a prospect from a 360-degree viewpoint, so to speak. So what we're saying is there's technologies in the marketing area, there's technologies in the sales area, and there's technologies in the services area that really need to kind of coexist and work together in one silo that can then share the information and that customer experience across all those different mechanisms. So when you're marketing and you market to a customer and you get them in basically into the flywheel, so to speak, then you're trying to engage them. Now you're getting sales involved. At some point, they're becoming a customer. And then at another point, you want them to promote, you want to be an advocate for your brand, and you want them to help you grow your brand. You want them to give good reviews, and you want them to, that will then send you more customers. So the concept behind the flywheel is that the flywheel is spinning, and the more work that you do in the marketing to improve your marketing technology methods, and the more work that you do in the sales function and service function, that flywheel spins faster and faster and really kind of helps you grow. So HubSpot has done a really good job at integrating the marketing, the sales, and the services function into one system, so to speak. And what was really impressive for me, if you're considering ISM or you're part of ISM, is the work that they're doing in Wayne State, which impressed me with regards to HubSpot. So they have, I think, we alluded earlier that you got a grant. You recently got a grant from Wayne State, from HubSpot, to leverage their enterprise technology, so to speak. And there's not a whole lot of universities, especially in this area, I don't think there's any actually, that are offering that type of technology and the opportunity to learn that technology. And then be able to take what you learn from that technology and go to the marketplace. So I think that's a huge opportunity to hang your hat on a well-known technology that a lot of users are using. HubSpot's got probably 54% of the marketing automation market right now today. So it's a large company. So that means there's a lot of companies using it. So your opportunities to learn HubSpot and get a placement would be very, very good. So when you talk about certifications that I would recommend for somebody that wants to pursue a career, if you like marketing and you like sales, if you like customer satisfaction, then you might consider the HubSpot Academy, which has a huge library of a number of certifications and great instruction and tools that will help you learn any particular area that you're interested in. Now, the other thing I would say is, there are other areas too besides HubSpot, right, that you can think about, right? You can think about being a Google expert. Google has a lot of tools, right? Ad tools, LinkedIn, Facebook, SEMrush. So there are a number of platforms that you can become a specialist on that also have free tools that you can get certification. So if you're thinking about getting a placement somewhere, if you come in already with these certifications and you understand how these certifications work, and you say, look, I've been through all the Google Ads training and I'm a certified XYZ, and you go in, while I don't have practical experience, I know it inside out, you don't have to teach me the lingo, I just need to understand how you're applying that. You could have a really great opportunity. So you could, most of these major technology companies have certifications of sorts that will allow you to become a pretty good expert at it, talk the lingo, and you would have an edge up over someone who just basically shows up and is hoping to get trained. I recommend that people take the time on their own with their own initiative and make these things happen and not burden the employers with those kinds of things, because it really kind of shows that you're going for it.
Awesome, thank you. And if you could give, so I know you talked about some other programs other than HubSpot. Can you just clarify a little bit for students? Because I think a lot of times when students think ISM, they automatically are thinking network administration, cybersecurity. And I think the side of ISM that you deal with is maybe not as well known to students.
Correct.
So if you can clarify a little bit more, that would be, I think, helpful.
Sure. And what that is from a marketing, sales, and a service standpoint is this. Basically on the marketing side, if you are, let's say, an inbound marketer per se, and you use a HubSpot product, you would then be becoming an expert on finding ways to helping your organization or companies attract more alike customers to a website. So you would be involved in using technologies and tactics and strategies in order to drive traffic to websites. Then once they reach that website, you would be then using technologies and tactics and strategies to engage those people on the website and convert them from a website. And then lastly, you would be involved in technologies and tools in order to convert those folks into customers. And then on the service side, you would be involved in technologies like surveys and feedbacks, knowledge bases, help desks, chat features. On the sales side, you would be involved in things like implementing CRM systems, which are customer relationship management systems that really hold contact databases of customers and prospects. You also might be involved in using tools like sales enablement tools, which are tools that help salespeople sell more. It might be installing AI bots on websites and programming them in order to capture leads for sales. It might be writing. A lot of it is writing. A lot of the marketing, sales, and service work. If you're good at writing, you'll be really good at that, right? So on the sales side, enabling might be setting up workflows, writing emails, building literature. You may also be involved with sales and marketing alignment. That means working with the marketing department and helping the sales department both work as a team, identifying what qualified leads mean, at what point in a customer journey is a lead qualified for sales. When should you send them over the fence? You could get involved in sales coaching as well. So, there's a lot of different buckets in this area. There's a lot of tools in automation. So HubSpot has the marketing, sales, and service, and the CMS tool, which is the content management system, which is the website. And what they've done is they've kind of put those tools together in one silo, so to speak. But there's a lot of other tools that marketers use in their technology stack. For instance, you might have a technology stack that has tools that you use to discover things. Like I need to know, I need Google Analytics because I need to understand where the traffic is going on my website. I need to understand what pages they're going to. I need to understand what the flow is. You made tools, discover tools like SEMrush, tools that help you determine what people are searching for so that you can properly market. So again, we also have tools in the manage area. So that might be another silo of your tech stack, which that might be Teamwork or Basecamp or Google Drive. There may be tools in there, right? You may also have tools to create things. So there's tools, HubSpot has tools. There's Video, Wista, Vidyard, Soapbox, SurveyMonkey. So in a technology stack, you may have multiple technologies that you're using in order to deploy all of the things that I talked about in the service, sales, and the marketing function, right? And kind of today what's happening is the closer you can get to a single silo in all the apps that you're using and share that data, the easier it's going to be for you to manage all these experiences that you're going to need to manage, right? So oftentimes companies will they'll see a technology, they'll buy it so that they can use it, and they end up with a lot of silos that aren't really working together, right? So it's really important that they consider a platform that is got a real open API that has, potentially other companies that are contributors to their add-on, so to speak. HubSpot has a very large database of companies that automatically connect to them that serve a lot of these functions. You want to connect, if you want to analyze sales, you want to analyze marketing, basically whatever it takes. So getting everything to work as one, as close as possible is how I would look at it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That clarification was really helpful.
Okay,
and hopefully, I'm sure helpful to a lot of students who may be considering careers in that area. So we are going to shift focus a little bit here, and I'm going to turn it over to John Heinrichs. Before I do that, for many of you, as students in the ISM program, you may not be aware that within the School of Business, there are actually two tracks of the ISM program. There's the Enterprise Architecture Analyst track, and there's the Inbound Information Technology track. So John's going to start by giving a little bit of overview into those two tracks of the program and what you'll learn in both.
Thank you very much. It's interesting as you've heard the speakers talking about the tremendous variety in areas that you can get into inside of ISM. So it's huge what we can get through. But to get started, what we kicked around was how can we help students figure out where to pursue? Because sometimes students just don't know where to go. So we tried to divide our ISM into two conceptual parts. Enterprise, so if you want to work for the big companies like Ford, where you need project management and database skills. Maybe you want to work at DTE Energy and you need skills like R, and you need some heavy data analytics. So we tried to put those systems analysis, project management courses in the enterprise area. As you heard Mark talking, and he started to say, look, here's a beautiful sweet spot between the 20 and 250 size companies. I'm a startup company. I'm a mid-sized firm. What type of skills I need? I'm digital. I have to have a digital presence and know who's touching my website. What are they getting out of my website? I have to understand a knowledge base and to put things together like that. And so we've pushed into the inbound, or if you will, a lot of people will say digital track. So we've tried to help focus students on those two. And so we laid out and built a curriculum behind those two tracks. It's not saying you have to pick one or the other, but rather if you're saying, well, gosh, I need to think of something. I was really interested in networking and working on things that Plant Moran had with security. Well, maybe I should be doing these things. Or you said, Mark was talking about a lot of the SEO and the email marketing. Well, maybe I ought to go to one of those hug meetings he offers and network with those businesses. And since I'm in the inbound track, I'm already skilled and I've gotten 2 or 3 certifications in that area. So that's what we tried to build to help people focus on inbound or enterprise.
Awesome. That is very helpful. And then one of the big questions that we got from a number of ITO students, and this is kind of an incredibly multi-part question, was what are you going to be learning? What are you as students going to be learning in some of your courses? And so I will turn it over to John to kind of give an overview from anything from machine learning to programming languages to SEO. If you can speak on that, that would be great.
Yes, thank you. Excellent question. We've been trying to push to a use what you teach what you use philosophy. We've been trying to do hands-on. So we've been trying to shift our curriculum into those areas. We're going to be hopefully pushing, as you'll see, a data visualization course in winter. If you're interested in how do I put together to analyze data. You heard FCA and what they were doing there. Well, maybe that'll interest you as well. So that's one of the courses we're having. We are very fortunate as our dean helped us partner with Apple Computer. So we offer app development using Swift. So if you're very interested in machine learning and how do I take machine learning and apply that to a mobile app, we teach in that type of a course. That's our 7507 app development course. If you're interested a lot in what Mark was talking about with inbound and SEO and all of those technology stacks. And I'll see if I can't do that real quick. One of the things he brought up was knowledge base. Well, what the heck's a knowledge base and chatbots and artificial intelligence? Well, I just loaded a link to what we're just starting as a knowledge base with a chatbot on the side, because we'll give you hands-on using the HubSpot service tools to teach you artificial intelligence and to teach you knowledge-based work. In our data mining class, in our database class, we'll work and help you learn a little bit about SQL and some different types of databases as well. Our security class, we were very, very fortunate that our CNIT, our computer technology at Wayne State, our security officer actually teaches the security course. So you're getting hands-on from somebody that lives and dies with it daily. And she is phenomenal there. In our 5994 and 7994 classes, we get into the web development. You say, well, web development, yeah. But you listen to what Mark was saying about what are these CMSs about? We'll start and teach you the web development tools and capabilities with hands-on, assuming you know nothing. But halfway through the course, we shift and we start using professional tools that industry uses, that what Mark would provide to his clients. And how do you build templates and themes? And how do you build modules? And how does that link into the Google Analytics? And so by the end of the course, you'll be certified in web development, and you'll have a certificate to take forward in there. So those will give you a brief overview. We were very fortunate, and I believe it was yesterday, we were approved for a MBA Digital Business Analytics concentration. So we are now trying to build, we were very fortunate to pick up a faculty member, Yushin Zhang from Texas, Austin, and she's going to be helping us with and she's going to be helping us with data strategy. So we're starting to push hard with the data analytics as well, and a brand new faculty member. So if you're interested in getting an assistant prof and shaking them up and learning from somebody that just got out of school, sign up for Yushin's class. So Kimberly.
Thanks, John. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jay to kind of reintroduce himself. He is the academic advisor for ISM students, so to give a little insight on how he can help all of you as students, either in ISM or considering ISM.
Thanks, Kimberly. So again, I am the ISM advisor for the business school. My portion is short, so we'll get to the question and answers soon. But now that you've had a chance to actually hear all of this amazing information about ISM from the employer and the academic perspective, some of you may be wondering how to get started in studying ISM. And that would be things like declaring ISM as a major. I know that Mark and Taylor both mentioned two great ways to apply it as a double major: accounting, marketing, GSC. A lot of our students in those double major. I know that we send a lot of students up to the career planning and placement office in those majors to go ahead and find out ways to combine them together. I think most of us would agree in this chat that ISM goes very well with just about every business major, if not any major at the business school. So we do see a lot of students adding it as a double major, or just right out declaring it as their major. Or if you want advising for ISM, if you're a current ISM student. So that being said, I am here to help with things like degree planning, doing plan of works, exceptions and things like that in your degree works. Big one would be course registration. One of the biggest ones that I think a lot of people here would be able to agree with me, especially the current students, are navigating the many academic policies and procedures that Wayne State and the business school has. Because that being said, as John actually mentioned with the tracks, ISM actually has more flexibility to truly customize your major, unlike any of the other 5 MISB majors. So out of, accounting, GSC, finance, marketing, management, ISM is the most flexible with those tracks. And because of that, it is incredibly important that all of our ISM students meet with both the amazing CPP staff as well as the advising staff to make sure you're staying on track for both degree requirements, degree progression, keeping you on that timely path, but also adding in those career goals. Because of that flexibility, you have that option to really customize this for you. And we want you to do it in an efficient and timely manner. I want to go ahead and put my email right in the chat so you can email me directly if you have questions. Super excited to hear from anyone who might be interested. But like I said, my portion was short. I don't want to take any more of your time. Thank you for having me, okay?
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
And then before we transition into the Q&A, and I know earlier we got some questions in the chat, so I will kind of prompt those and then we will open it up to students to ask additional questions. I would love if maybe Lisa, can you give a brief overview of ITO? I think we have a lot of students on the call that aren't currently a member of ITO, so I think this would be a good promotional opportunity for those students who might want to learn more about getting involved.
Sure, thank you so much. It's been great to listen to all of the presenters, and I wish that I would have had this type of meeting my freshman year, because as Jay pointed out, there are lots of policies and procedures and hoops and jumps that ISM being so flexible affords, but you don't find those out. You don't know it till you know it, and sometimes you don't know it until it stops you from doing something. So if I can stress one thing from ITO is the connection between advising, which Jay is our fearless advisor for ISM, and the connection with CPP, which is Kimberly and Carlos. That is really going to help you, and that would be our first step of advice from ITO for any student working through the ISM degree. So there's my little plug, and Jay, you owe me 20 bucks. So ITO stands for the Information Technology Organization. We are connected or affiliated with the National Association for Information Systems. We're a student chapter. We also have a sister or brother chapter in one of the other colleges at Wayne State. What that does specifically is this is an organization for students in ISM and any other major who might be interested in developing skills, networking, making sure that we as students and other students are connected with CPP, undergrad or grad advising, and so that we're there as like peer support, and also with the faculty of what we're learning, how we can apply those skills. And not only that, that's internal, but also how can students individually and collectively impact the businesses that we have, not just near the business school, but also within the community. So for internships, or I guess they call them micro internships now, job placements, just understanding and getting together and understanding how ISM applies to nearly every business degree within the School of Business, and understanding that integration, that doesn't come easy. And so we've done that together with each other in faculty advisement. John's our faculty advisor. We also have other faculty, and Christine, I think, is on this call too, who's our dean or our department chair. So ITO has worked really well together as students, but we also have a lot of support from our faculty. And so I would recommend that if anybody's interested in becoming an ITO member, it has been a great networking pathway to me, and there's some more members I see here on the call. Brian and Jake are here. Norman also sits in with our meetings and helps guide us and gives us opportunity and helps us think outside the box. And if one thing I heard from all the presenters tonight was, with ISM, you're constantly thinking within and outside the box and problem solving and some of those things that we come up with. So it's great to have that. So ITO student org, My College School of Business. We'll put some links in the chat here in just a bit, and so that you can come and check us out, and we'd be glad to have you at our meeting. So thanks, Kimberly. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Lisa. So there are a number of links that have been put in the chat. So if you haven't been keeping track of the chat, please go in, copy those links so you have them for future reference. I'm also going to put in the link to the attendance survey because we had a lot of students join after the start. We are using a Qualtrics survey. It's 4 very quick questions. So if you can click on that link and go ahead and type in your information so we can get an accurate count of who was present at this event today. And then earlier in the call, we got a couple questions. So I will go ahead and pose those now to our presenters. Feel free, any of you, to jump in and kind of share your expertise and insight. The first was, what is your opinion on general entry-level certifications like the A+, or the Network Plus certifications from CompTIA?
Yeah, I responded in the chat there. The CompTIA certifications are great. I actually, when I was at Wayne, the security class, as it was offered at that point, kind of set you up for the Security Plus certification. So those are great because you don't have to have experience before you can get like the letters after your name, whereas with the CISA and the CISSP, you need like 3 to 5 years. So that's a great starting point.
Okay, excellent. And Corey, I know you responded to this question in the chat, but for those that maybe missed it, do you use any coding languages besides SQL and a database for your profession?
Yes, certainly. So my comments on SQL are it's just kind of foundational, right? Like obviously we use R, Python, Spark. We've got a very broad application portfolio at FCA. We have a large mainframe instance. We've got lots of applications that we've migrated to the cloud. So, across the span of those technologies, there's probably every single type of application framework and coding language that has to be managed in some way, shape, or form within FCA.
Okay, awesome. And we just got another question in the chat. Is there a site that you can recommend, this is really for anyone, where students can practice programming with SQL or R, or practice building a website?
Yeah, at FCA we use a Pluralsight. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but it's one of the things that's great about a site like that is one of the hardest things that we find people have when they're getting started is finding good curated data sets to start coding against. And that's been a good resource for us. Obviously there's hundreds of different places where you can go find this information now. John Hopkins has some great courses that are free that provide some data sets specific to data science and analytics. I'm sure Taylor could reference some for cybersecurity, as could others, but I think there's lots of resources that can help people get started and get a foundation.
Karma has a good site for practicing R.
Okay. Can you put that link in the chat, Norman? That would be great. And then Jeet put one for w3schools.com for practicing SQL. I also know that Code Academy has some kind of basic training that you can do, and then I think you do have to pay to go into more advanced programming. But that it would give you at least a brief overview to, if you're thinking about ISM, would give you a brief overview to make sure that you enjoy the content.
Coursera, similar.
Oh, and Coursera, yeah. That is great.
As we teach Swift Apple, Apple also has a free Teach Everyone to Code if you want to learn about app development in the Swift language.
Okay.
HubSpot also, for their CMS portal, has free classes in their certification that you can use to learn web development on that platform as well.
Awesome. Thank you, John. And then one other question I got privately, and I guess this goes for really anyone on this call as a presenter. How did you decide what you wanted to do in the field of ISM? I think, on this call with the breadth of content that we covered, it's clearly for students a lot that they can decide they want to do. What led you to your decision? Were you doing job shadowing initially? Was it the internship?
Yeah, I would say take advantage of any opportunity at Wayne State where you can get exposure to people with different industries. So you're already taking the right step by being in this meeting. But for me personally, it was work experience overall, and try and translate any work experience that you have into what you want your long-term goal to be. So for example, like my first job was at Red Robin, and it's like, that's where I kind of learned that I love working with people and interacting with different people all day. And then I worked at a small office with only 4 people in the office at any given point. And I was like, this is not for me. I need more people around me at all times. So figure out what you like from a broad sense. And then as far as like what your day-to-day job is going to entail, take advantage of any opportunity at Wayne State. Talk to CPP, get involved in corporate mentorship or in attending events like this and recruiting events.
Great advice.
Yeah, I think for me, it certainly wasn't a straight line to get to where I'm at. So I graduated in the middle of the Great Recession. So, finding a place to get started was very challenging. And I started in a purchasing group, cutting POs. And, I very quickly realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. And that's not what my background was, but it was my way in. Worked my way through several projects, took some risks, took some new jobs, got into consulting where I got a lot of exposure to a lot of different things. And that really refined, kind of where I wanted the rest of my career to head towards.
Excellent.
Let me just chime in real quickly because I know Taylor mentioned the mentorship program a couple of times. In case the students who are on the call don't know what that is, it's a program we have for first-generation college students. There may be some ability for exception if neither one of your parents work in industry, in business. But if you have questions about that, you can shoot Kimberly or myself a message and we can fill you in more on that. But that's what the corporate mentorship program is.
Yeah, thanks, Carlos.
Yeah, I'd like to just mention something just in general. I think, like, I've had a lot of jobs growing up myself, and I've kind of always learned, I loved every job I had. I mean, I was a busboy, I worked at a factory, I ran a heating and cooling business. I had lots of businesses. I've done a lot of things, and really, there's so much to learn in life. And I think this is kind of an area where there's no end to the learning. I mean, when you think about, when you listen to these different speakers talking, this is a sea of just a lot of things that could potentially be done. My recommendation is you pick an area that you think might be of interest and jump in and do the very best you can, and just go in and do it and be the very best you can be. And when you stop learning, when you're not learning in your job, it's time to move on to a different department or a different area, and you'll find your way. So if you don't know your way, take a stab in the dark. Hey, I'd like IT. That's a very secure area. I want to be an analyst. I'd like to be a marketer. Whatever it is that you want to pursue, you'll be good at whatever you choose if you decide to be good at it. So really just go out about it. When I'm not learning, like even at this age, I'm in a continuous learning mode in my own professional career and in my personal career. There's not enough things that I can learn in this lifetime. So, enjoy everything that you do and be the very best you can be. And when you look around and you can't learn anything more where you're at, it's time to move on to the next step. And you know what? The money will follow you. You'll never have to ask for a raise, because as you're improving yourself, you're just going to be getting better and better, and you're always looking for an opportunity. Don't leave for 50 cents or $1. You leave because you can't learn anymore, and that's when you move on to the next place. So that's just a little information that might be helpful.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Mark. That is really helpful. So we got a couple more questions in the chat. Again, anyone can feel free to jump in on these. what are the top 2 components that students are missing when they get started right out of school? That's a pretty challenging question, so.
Can I take that?
Yeah, sure. Feel free to jump in, Norman.
It's very hard for the academic world to give a picture of what business is really like. So what you miss really is the uncertainty, the excitement, the dynamism, the opportunities. The thing Mark pointed out, that ISM is so dynamic that ISM 10 years ago was something different. And ISM 10 years from now will be something different. But whatever it is, be curious and learn. And the problem with the academic is we can't show them enough of what that business world looked like. And internships help, and mentoring helps, and these kinds of meetings help. Does it sound like an answer?
Yeah, no, that was great.
I can take a shot at this question about whether it is possible to be an IS and technology without any coding. So I worked in industry for over a decade before entering academia, and basically in all kinds of areas in IT. Worked at General Motors, worked at a robotics company, worked for Xerox. And I think there is a slight shift to what IS is becoming. You know, in the one side, IS is kind of transforming each and every function, you know, whether it be marketing, finance, operations, you name it, right? Those functions have just changed. If you think about recruiting, for example, in HR, the most human function, a lot of it is now AI in the background. So that is one. So in it's not just IS, but any function you want to excel at, I would say that you need to have a technology DNA as part of your core. That's one. The second transformation that I see is that earlier programming was a lot about a hardcore programming. Like you needed to know C, you needed to know stuff like COBOL or Fortran. You really needed to be a programmer to do stuff with technology. That also is shifting now, and there's this whole movement towards no code programming. So for example, now you have tools like Wix in the web development area where you really don't need to know how to program to build a website, a basic website. Of course, you know, if you want to get into something very fancy, then you need to know the programming part. So that's the second side of it. So the way I would answer that question, whether it is possible to get into technology without knowing coding, is it is definitely possible, because it's becoming easier and easier to work with technology without knowing hardcore programming. You're basically putting Lego blocks together. Legos of technology are already pre-built, and you put them together. A simple example, like I suggested, is websites. You just drag and drop stuff, and in the background there's code, but you really don't have to get your hands dirty with it. So it's almost like, you know, you're a driver of a car. You don't have to be a mechanic like you would expect in a car garage, right? So that is that shift. Having said that, I would say that you should try to know some coding, because even though you are a manager, you might be working with consultants and developers who you may need to understand. And knowing some coding gives you that fluidity. It gives you that facility to be able to work with those people. So let's say even if you're a manager or a director of some function and you're working with a consultant who's sitting across the table with you, if you have a good grip of how technology works and coding helps in that, then you would be in a position to really kind of make use of that consultant. Or you know, it might be you might end up in a situation where the consultant ends up making use of you and, like, you know, gets a lot of money out of you and gives you services and stuff that you really don't need in your company, because that is his job. His job is to sell services and products to you, right? So I don't know if I've answered this question, but what I would say is that, yes, the world is shifting towards an area where you can get a lot done without knowing how to do programming, but having that foundational skill, I think, is useful, and school is the place to do it. Once you're in the job market, it becomes more and more difficult to have the time to do that. So I don't know if I answered that question, that specific question. It's a difficult question to answer, but I think you may want to learn some programming.
Yeah,
I would like to add something on what Ajit said and what Norman said. What Ajit said, I once heard from a person whose name is John Clary. He used to be the CIO of Lear Corporation, and he was very good CIO. And he told me once that he was a programmer at the beginning. He knew some programming. He doesn't do any more programming at the time, but knowing programming enabled him to communicate, as Ajit said, communicate with other people. That's number one. Number two, what the question you asked, Kimberly, what two things that students are missing when they finish the school? I think that one important thing that they are missing is they don't know how to understand business. Because if you want to be a successful IS person, as Mark said, you have to serve the business. So the student has to be able to get into a business and to understand how the business is starting, how it's operating, what are the processes, what are the responsibilities of everybody, and things like this.
Oh, great. That's great. Thank you, Arik. And I think just to piggyback on both what Arik and Ajit said, we, on the career planning and placement side of things, strongly encourage students to do an internship so you're getting some hands-on experience. But as Taylor had mentioned earlier, even if you can't do an internship in your field, you can still establish transferable skill sets in any job that you've had. And she gave the example of knowing that she loved working with people from her first job. So I think any experience that you have related to your field or not is going to help you identify a little bit more about what you enjoy in a career. But you're also establishing and developing transferable skill sets in those positions that then you can market to an employer when you're going to apply for internships or jobs in the future. So if you don't have any work experience, I strongly encourage you to work on getting some during your time as a student, but certainly getting relevant work experience is going to give you a bit of a leg up when you go to apply for full-time positions.
I think one of the gaps in the technology space is between the business functional people and the pure technical people. And people who are able to bridge that gap, they are in high demand. And usually that is a place where companies have a challenge. So when Corey and Mark and Taylor, they are hiring for people, I think, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you find people who are kind of, they can function in both areas, I think that they end up being very attractive people, because you can always get a lot of computer sciencey people. You can also get a lot of people who are just pure managerial. But finding that person who can do both is usually difficult.
Yeah, I was on mute, but I'm like, amen, yes. That's so true. I would say one of the hardest, or one of my favorite, most challenging parts of my job is that I go from talking to the highly technical people that are doing, network engineering all day, every day. And then if I identify a finding, I then have to present that to a CEO that doesn't know, his mouse from his keyboard. So that is a huge, and I think that's the benefit of an ISM, a business degree specifically, is that in business school, you're learning both of those skills. So you're able to wear both hats. Whereas if you were to just be like a computer science major, you're missing the personal skills there, the professional skills. So yes, great comment.
Yeah, I just want to,
sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, we say all the time that one of the greatest skills that our really technical resources can have is being able to explain what they do and what they see in a way that others can understand it. And I think when you find somebody that can kind of walk down that line, it is very appealing from a hiring manager perspective.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback really quickly. I mean, it is not uncommon for our ISM students who may be in accounting and ISM double major to also add on the computer science minor. So they are getting that problem solving and programming and all that other aspect to it as well. So they're literally trying to add as many possible hats on to make them appealing as possible. So that is an option. It does add more complexity to the degree, which is where, again, I can help make that make sense. But it is actually pretty common for our students to at least consider that. A lot of them don't get to the math. The math ends up making them come back out of the computer science minor, but it is an option.
Great, thanks, Jay. Other questions, I'm actually going to stop for a second and just remind everyone, if you haven't taken the event survey, please go ahead and make sure you do that or repost the link in the chat. Other questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your questions aloud too. Or you can put them in the chat and moderate them. Got some really great questions so far.
There was a question a little bit farther back in the chat that are there degrees where, I know this was addressed, but are there careers with outside of ISM that you can utilize that you don't have to know coding? I know that the coding scares a lot of students away and that it seems really complex. I know that John has explained it to me of what would be beneficial and how to start. So John, why don't you give him that little brief overview and then everybody else can jump in, because I know that's a question that I get a lot. I don't want to learn how to code, or I don't know how to code. And it's almost like, oh no, I'm in the wrong degree. So help him out, John.
That's very interesting, and I echo what everybody's been saying about coding. But when I go recruiting MBA students for the ISM department, the first place I go to is the English department, because they know how to write and they know how to communicate. And those skills are phenomenal. And as Ajit was saying, is you get this no code so that you can easily start to drag and drop and put in things and easily create websites and easily create code. That said, with the Apple Swift development and machine learning, we can drag you right down into the weeds, and we do. So it's a vast area to get into.
Great, thank you, John.
Yeah, I would say on the marketing, sales, and services side, you really don't have to know any coding whatsoever, really. I mean, and all these, and you know, John works with HubSpot a lot. I mean, almost everyone's going to drag and drop editors. It's really the creativity comes in how you use the platforms to get out of it what you need to get out of it. Hey, this is an email. I need to get people to take this action. So everything's drag and drop, and you're basically working with an application. So if you don't like website coding, you don't have to do website coding. I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to be a website programmer. But as Jit did say, if you do understand some programming, I've done some. I probably not, I'm not the best programmer, but, and so those editors work great for me, right? So.
Yeah, and I'll add this. Shortly after the business school was named, in the Illich group, we had a conversation with the VP of HR from Little Caesars Enterprises, and they were heavily marketing and hiring ISM majors to kind of, at that point they were, I don't know if you've been in a Little Caesars store, and definitely, well, before COVID hit, but how they have these little stations set up where you order online and you go and pick it up. They were heavily ordering students, ISM students, who could help with their technology, and there was very little, if any, coding involved. So there are those opportunities out there. I would encourage all the ISM students that all those events that are coded for you in Handshake, to check them out. Do your research and just, and don't think, oh, I don't know that company, or, oh, why would I want to go work at Little Caesars, when they had people literally developing the technology to make their, whatever they call that, where they have the pizzas ready for you and you can order it ahead of time. But you're literally doing that for a major company. So explore all the opportunities. They don't all involve coding. And then come check with us, check with your faculty in terms of what you need to know, what you need to learn, and between the team of us, we're going to help you get there.
Great, thanks for that addition, Carlos. I get another question that I think would be beneficial for the panelists to respond to. Can an ISM degree be useful for students who might be looking into project management? And I'll preface that by saying project management is a pretty broad career area, but
right. I work with a lot of project management offices within larger organizations, and when you look at businesses' strategic plans, particularly IT strategic plans, a good majority of projects that are implemented come from a technology perspective. So you're either, you know, changing your payroll software or implementing your new pizza pod pickup thing, or I work with a lot of banks that are implementing ITM machines. So they're like interactive teller machines where like you have a banker on a video screen like this. So yeah, absolutely, having technology skills from a project management perspective. And then that's when there's different certifications. There's project management professionals. The PMP certification is something to look into there. But yeah, from an actual like SDLC, system development lifecycle project management perspective, an ISM degree is great. And again, like no matter what career you go into, there's project management. So for me, I'm not a project manager, but you could consider every client that I work on a project, and then you have to learn, you know, how to manage that. So yeah, great question.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think having some background or context into how whatever you're managing is going to be created adds value. I know that a lot of the project managers that we bring in are far more technical than they were 10 years ago. And I think, you know, if you look at the types of applications that we're building and what needs to be explained and all the different components that go into creating some of the things that we create, you know, having this type of skill set certainly is valuable.
Awesome, thank you, Corey. And there was one kind of side note of a question that I'll answer for students. So someone had asked, are any of the ISM orgs doing anything this semester besides the career fairs and this current event? So we do have, this is actually the first event in a 3-part event series that we're doing specific to ISM students this fall. So we will have another event in October and one in November. So just make sure you're checking Handshake and your Wayne State email for those events. But we are trying to do more ISM specific engagement activities for all of you because there's been such a strong interest. The career fairs are coming up, so I would certainly encourage you to go and attend those events. They will be hosted virtually this fall. And then ITO, and if Lisa can if you could put the link to ITO in the chat, that would be helpful. ITO is also doing a lot of additional things outside of the Career Planning and Placement Office to help students engage with employers. So that's a great supplemental way, 1, to build your resume, but 2, to get involved and learn more about the field.
And for ISM majors, part of why we thought about this event and created it is the vast opportunities out there. And we have been working, but we have not got it together yet, on a why ISM majors are attracted to accounting firms. But as you see, Taylor works for an accounting firm, and a lot of our accounting firms recruit ISM students. So we do have our accounting career fair a week from today, actually, I believe. And check that out, because there are a lot of opportunities for ISM students in the accounting world. So I want to make sure I knew that.
Those people that are scared of coding, IT assurance, risk management, and compliance are huge areas with little to no coding needed. I literally have never coded a thing in my life. I have to read it sometimes, but I don't have to type it myself. So that's great advice, Carlos.
Awesome, thank you. And Lisa did just put the ITO link in the chat, so if you're interested, go ahead and save that link. Other questions, I think those are all the questions right now from the chat. We're getting pretty close to the end of our time, but other questions students have. It's a great opportunity to ask them. You have we have a wide array of people on this call who have different expertise in different areas. So please feel free to ask your questions. Oh, and Christine just made a really good point in the chat. You can save the chat. So if you want to go back and refer to all of the resources that were listed and all of the links that were provided, you do have the access to do that.
Kimberly, I'll just jump in here for just a second and say that some of these questions that we field a lot with ITO, and we answer them. And one of the other options that we're working with is Mike Elliott's School of Business alums that have our ISM alumni, just like Taylor, that might come in and have a really small gathering to be able to ask those questions of, what about this if you're not sure? What about, can I use project management in ISM? And those type of things. So those will be coming up too. We're developing those as we mark our way through the semester. So just be on the lookout that we'll have formal events like this and a few other casual, and if you feel more comfortable asking those questions in one or the other type of events, those will be available.
So thanks, Lisa. It looks like Mark, you put a question in the chat. So what skill from, I think, the standpoint of full stack programmers do you recommend obtaining? Specifically directed towards Corey.
Yeah, I'm thinking. So full stack, it's broad. I think we do a lot in React Angular frameworks. A lot of our full stack applications are migrating to the cloud, so having an understanding of basic cloud infrastructure and platform services. Typically our full stack applications have lots of database integrations, we call APIs. So, having your basic, database fundamentals, specifically if we're writing back, full stack's broad, that's why it's called full stack. I think these are very high points, but these are the things that we focus on and what we look for on resumes that come in for the skill set today.
Awesome,
I have a quick question, if possible.
Yeah, go ahead, Elias.
I am actually dual majoring. I originally transferred from a 2-year college, and I wanted to major in global supply chain. I had an option to double major, and I chose information systems management. I was wondering if you guys knew of any cases or something where other people have used those two majors together, possibly.
Yeah, Jake. Sorry, and your two majors, ISM and
global supply chain.
Oh, yes. Two very common majors together. I think Jay can kind of allude to this as well. But a lot of supply chain, regardless of what area of supply chain you're going into, typically you're having to use systems to manage inventory, to manage customers. So having that experience working with systems, understanding how to manage and organize data is something that's tremendously valuable for someone who is working in the field of supply chain. And I know, great. Lisa, also, you have your hand raised, and you are actually a double major in ISM and supply chain.
I was actually going to quickly say that we actually stole her. She was originally in GSC, and ISM got her into the double major. So she was exactly who I was going to pick on too. So I just wanted to say that.
I came, same type of path, came from a 2-year college, transferred to Wayne. I was all good to go. And Jay's colleague for GSC, which you're probably aware of, is Silvana. So they switched back and forth. She said, you just have these extra credits. You could get another double major. And I went through the rabbit hole. So yes, there are lots and lots of opportunities to use both degrees at the same time. It just depends on what industry you want to work in. I'll give you the answer that John gave me when I asked him a question was yes, no, maybe, you know, he's known for that. So yes, there are. It's only limited by your imagination and what you're willing to go for with opportunities. So yes, they are.
Is there any specific minor that you guys can recommend to add to that double major?
So my recommendation broadly is the minor that we would recommend is so specific based on what your interests are after graduation. Already having a double major together, there's so much that you can do. And so if we really want to make an intentional decision about recommending a good minor, we have to have a little bit more individualized context as to what your professional interests are and what professional goals you have after graduation. So I would recommend scheduling an appointment. I'm guessing you've already met with academic advisors, but just schedule an appointment with career planning and placement so that we can kind of delve into those questions in a little more detail and make a good recommendation for you.
Okay. One of the things you can't do is to choose your career path before you start it, because there's so many opportunities. So the best thing you can do while at university is get a good basic understanding of the discipline and get some soft skills. Learn to work with people. Technologists aren't really good at that. I don't know, Corey, I don't know you, so, but FCA has got some good people skills about it. I used to know your big boss, so that was a good.
What's that?
Marcioni. I think the soft skills are very important, that thing that says I understand people, I listen to them, and I respond to what they want. But every organization struggles with this gap between technology and the business. Some Ford, where I worked, we had actually focused people in the business functions who had IT responsibility, and we would exchange them back and forth.
Wow.
Elias, just a quick note on that supply chain and
Yes, sir.
ISM combination. I think, I mean, if you look at the most advanced supply chain analytics company, it's Amazon. And Amazon is a data company first. You know, they basically track each and every movement of each and every product that they're doing. So that combination is very powerful. You know, analytics started in the customer sales side. So like, you know, trying to track customer behavior online and trying to sell and recommend new products. But the biggest value propositions in analytics are actually in saving cost in supply chains. And the way you do that is by having that combination of supply chain and analytics. So if you know, that is the area you're looking at, there are lots and lots of opportunities. Companies like
Looking
Amazon,
forward to it.
everybody.
Stuff like software sales.
Well, I just want to add on to just keep in mind the fact of the fact that if you're double majoring and minoring and coming from a 2-year school, you're probably going to be adding on a substantial number of credits at that point. So we also want to have that conversation about the return on the investment and the amount of credits you're taking. And as the academic advisor in the room, it would be very remiss of me to not mention the return on investment and the additional credits that one might take in that. We've actually talked about that, Elias, the credits.
Yeah, we have. We never went over a minor, and I just heard it now. I don't know if that would be necessary or if I need it. It's just an idea. I don't know how many more. We'll talk about it during our next meeting, how many more credits or whatever that requires if I need it, if I decide. I appreciate everyone's answer to their questions and your responses. Thank you.
I would like to make a distinction between what you need to get a degree and what you need for a career. For a career, you need to keep learning, because you won't know everything you need when you've graduated.
Yeah, thanks, Norman.
Very good point. Thank you.
So I mean, we're right at the end of our time. There was one question in the chat that I just want to make sure gets answered, but I want to be mindful of everyone's time. So Alex had asked, he noted that certifications have been brought up numerous times on this call. And so he's wondering if, for individuals who may not have professional experience yet, do you as panelists recommend getting certifications as a way to gain experience? Is that what employers look for?
Yeah, if you can get one of those CompTIA certifications, or even if you want, you know, an ISACA certification, you can take the exam, even a certification that requires experience, you can take and pass the exam and then wait to get your work experience before you're actually issued the certification. But that's absolutely beneficial going into job interviews. But it's also expensive. So if you don't, you know, you can also wait to get the job and then your employer might reimburse you.
And I guess I can chime in from the career planning and placement side of things.
From a marketing, sales, and services standpoint, you can get free certifications if you like that area of business from HubSpot. You definitely would be looked at from a job standpoint above anyone else if you had certifications and someone was fresh out of school. So I can tell you they will look at you first, which is one of the reasons why I really like what John is doing and his team at Wayne State, because they're one of the few. Usually the universities are 4 or 5 years behind the technology, and if we hire somebody with marketing experience, we really hire somebody that has no experience. So if you actually can put your hands on the tools and drive the car, which you can at Wayne State, that helps you, and the certifications then help you as well. So you're definitely, the next best thing to hiring somebody with experience is someone who's worked the product, who knows how to use it, and has shown initiative to get the certifications. You'll be at the top of the list.
Awesome. Thank you both.
I think that almost everyone is expecting graduates to be able to use spreadsheets. So Excel, some sort of Excel certification, some sort of Excel capability is sort of like reading and writing.
Okay. Great, thanks for adding that in. Yeah, Excel and spreadsheets, very important. So with that, we are right at the end of our time. And again, I want to be mindful of everyone's time here. So thank you all. Thank you to our presenters. I think this was really engaging. We got a lot of fantastic student questions. Thank you for the students for being here. We did record this session. So if you filled out that survey to sign in at the event, we will email you the recording after so that you can refer back to it. But please, if you have any questions, there are a number of individuals here on this call who are happy to assist you with individual specific questions after the event. So please don't hesitate to reach out to either Jay as the academic advisor or the career planning and placement office. But with that, I want to thank everybody for being here and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Hello.